I had absolutely no intention of recording today. Feeling quite poorly. I've got COVID. I tested positive for COVID this morning. It meant I couldn't go to the game yesterday. But look, it was a great performance from West Ham and performance of the season so far, undoubtedly. I thought I was really, really pleased actually with how we played. I thought we were dominant for the vast majority of the game. I thought we never really looked too much in danger, did we? Apart from when Ipswich got their equaliser 4 minutes after we scored, which just felt like it was like, oh God, here we go. But I thought it was a really good day. And do you know what? I want to keep it that way. I want to keep it positive. I don't want any negativity at the moment. Do you know what I mean? It's like we've had enough of that to start the season, all this anxiety building. It feels like a big relief. But it's West Ham, isn't it? It's West Ham, so you can always guarantee that there's something lingering around the corner. It just sometimes feels like, I don't know whether the knives are out for us at times. I don't know what it is, but really disappointing this morning in terms of this news article that's coming out of the Sun. Which is just bad timing. There's a couple of things I want to talk about, not just this article. So talk about Paquetá. We'll come to that in a minute. And I'm going to sort of come back to this later in the week, I think, when this comes a bit more clearer in terms of how the club respond. We've already kind of got a slight early response, but we'll sort of dig into it a bit more. So it's regarding Tim STEIDTEN. Now, this is the article from The Sun. This is what it says. It says, Tim STEIDTEN is unhappy that the Irons did not finalise the deal for Aston Villa's informed striker, Jhon Duran. He also wanted to sign Jonathan David, but the board were unwilling to meet the asking price. The Sun Sport can reveal that STEIDTEN put forward a list of candidates to replace David Moyes as manager. It featured Lopetegui, Hertzler of Brighton, and it also Amorim, as we know, and Fonseca. It says, goes on to say, STEIDTEN liked Hertzler, but others at the club felt that he was too young. The 31-year-old instead was switched over to Brighton and has since started well. West Ham, in contrast, have struggled, although his position under Lopetegui, but although his position is not under any immediate threat. There is not thought to be any tension in the relationship between STEIDTEN and Lopetegui, as was the case with Moyes, which I think is quite an interesting line. I like that. Thank God at least I've said that. But this is just not what we need. You know what I mean? It's just a sort of, I'm not quite sure. It's one of those that, I hate that phrase, like no smoke without fire. I don't really believe too much of it. But I can understand some of it if it's true. Do you know what I mean? Well, first of all, let's dissect it. Let's talk about the Jhon Duran. I think that's quite obvious. I think it's quite obvious that West Ham have really cocked up there. And I think that it is obvious that West Ham was simply unwilling to pay the money that was needed to sign Duran. And it's obvious that it was a bad move by the club. And if STEIDTEN's frustrated, then I totally get it, because I'd join him in that. And I'm sure you do too. It's like, yeah, we cocked up. The club have not penny pinched, just I don't know the right word, but unwilling to back STEIDTEN or his team to say, this is the guy we want to bring in. And considering the fact we're talking a few £1 million that we were negotiating over, that was the difference between what Villa wanted and what we were willing to pay. You look at it now and just feel like, well, that was just a colossal mistake, because Duran just is on absolute fire this season. And the fact he's 20 years old as well just does it for me. And it's like we've missed out on him, haven't we now? That ship has now well and truly sailed. So it's a blow. So I get it. If STEIDTEN is frustrated and unhappy with that, why wouldn't he be? But at the same time, I've still got queries over the fact that we went and spent money on Guilherme. I thought that at the moment, I'm not seeing what the big benefit of that was. Maybe in the future we'll understand it a bit better, but at this stage it feels like it was money spent. We probably didn't need to spend it. I'd rather than not bother bringing Guilherme in and brought in Duran, to be honest. So yeah, a little bit frustrating with that, and I do understand that STEIDTEN will be annoyed, but I still think that he's got a few questions to answer as well. And it seems odd to me that we went for Duran, 20-year-old striker with that ability, and then gone, or we'll go for Fulkrug. Again, very different players. So I think it's all well and good in being annoyed, but I think that we need to see what's happened. It's hard to see how the new signings are going to pan out, isn't it? It's too early in the season. You can't sit there and say that they've been good signs, bad signs, or whatever. But let's be honest, we're all looking at Duran and thinking, what if? And I'm sure that is the case with STEIDTEN. So for me, this story is a pretty obvious one. You can write this without even having any inside knowledge. You kind of go, well, I'm sure doing. Look how well he's doing for Aston Villa, and the goals he's scoring this season has been remarkable. And here we are with our striker, hasn't scored a goal yet. He's injured, and he's not going to be back now for another couple of weeks at best. So I can understand that. I'm struggling a little bit with the manager side of it. Well, we know why West Ham do what they do. We've always had this motto, haven't we, with our owners, where they go and when they're going to bring in managers, we don't like to pay compensation. We just are a club that don't like to pay compensation. You look at Aston Villa, in contrast to that, they went out their ownership and went to Rangers and said, we want Steven Gerrard. He just won the league with the Scottish Premier League with Rangers, and then paid the compensation that was needed, whatever that may have been, £5 million. I'm just, I haven't got the figures, so I don't know. I'm just kind of picking a number out of the air there, so it could be well wrong. But you know what I mean? They spent some money, went into Rangers. We're going to pay the compensation to get Steven Gerrard out of that contract, because we want him in Aston Villa. They then gave him the job, didn't work out. They sussed it out very early on. This is not working. They released him from the contract, paid him off, and then went and paid compensation again to Villarreal this time to get in Unai Emery. And look where they are now. And I think that's the big contrast you get with West Ham. Whereas West Ham do the opposite. Our ownership is don't want to pay compensation. We had it with Fonseca, as we just said on this article, was one that STEIDTEN was very keen on. Hertzler as well. We weren't interested in it. Well, we wouldn't pay the money for him. We felt it was too young. This bizarre mentality West Ham seem to have of they need to have Premier League experience. Obviously, don't touch them. I've never really understood that. Don't know why we have that insistence, because it just seems we always seem like we're a bit dated, don't we, when it comes to managers? West Ham, we've got an ownership that have just got this old school view of things. They need to have Premier League experience, otherwise, it's just I find that such an odd way to behave. But look, I really don't want to start beating a drum about the manager wasn't right and it was a bad choice, etc., because we've just come off the back of a really good win. And I really would like to see Lopetegui do well at this club. I personally really want to see him do well. I think we've just had a couple of years of just turmoil surrounding the manager, in and out, and fans being on their back, and this constant whirlwind of speculation about David Moyes' future. And we don't want to bring a new guy in and straight away we're going down the same path. So it's a little bit unhelpful, this article. I could really do without it. But I do like the fact that they've added that there's no tension between Lopetegui and STEIDTEN. I was going to talk about this actually, because over the course of the pre-season, I did say that it was really important when they were announcing players and etc. And when they were announcing Lopetegui, that I wanted STEIDTEN there. I wanted to see this united front, and we got that in both barrels. I think we had it completely from STEIDTEN. He's been very much involved in the media side of things, and I've really liked it. I've liked their relationship. They seem quite positive together. I mean, there was those clips, weren't they, when Lopetegui arrived at the training ground with his team, STEIDTEN was there, and they seem to be getting on really well. It upsets me to think that there was any issues there. So I struggle to believe it. So I'm glad that they put that in the article. I mean, West Ham, by the way, have denied this. This has just come out. This is only just very recently. West Ham come out and said it's not true whatsoever. There's no anger and frustration from STEIDTEN. But I'm sure there is anger and frustration regarding Duran. And no doubt there's frustration probably from the ownership. They're probably thinking, what did we do? Why did we do that? You know what I mean? It's backfired. Our reluctance to pay money that we needed to do to get the player, we didn't do it, and it's bitterness. It's proven to be a really bad move. And as I said, the ship has now well and truly sailed. It's just frustrating because we've just had a good win. I really want to just enjoy this period now. We've got 2 weeks away from Premier League and football, domestic football, because we've got the international break, which is an absolute pain in the arse, but it is also an opportunity for the club to sort of work more on the training ground, because Bowen's not going to be travelling with England, which I think is a big blessing for us. We've got Tadibo, we've got Kilman, and all staying behind. So there's players here that he can really work with. So I'm really, and we've just come from a really positive performance and result. So I just want to enjoy that. So it's really unhelpful reading this first thing in the morning. But I will go back into it a little bit more in the week when we understand a bit more exactly what's going on. Because of course this feels like something needs explaining a bit more. Because although it's the sun and it's sort of, as I said, I kind of feel like some of it's a little bit obvious. You could kind of suggest this anyway. It's almost like, I could write an article now about Man United and say, oh, I've got an exclusive. The ownership are becoming frustrated with their manager and they're concerned that, you know what I mean? You could it's kind of like almost obvious. Or the ownership are upset with some of the recruitment that under Ten Hag. It's like, well, yeah, I'm sure they are. Do you know what I mean? That's obvious. You don't need to be an insider to work that one out. So I'm kind of taking this a pinch of salt. As I've said, the club have denied it anyway. But it'll be interesting to see how this pans out, because I do think there's going to be a little bit of inquiry into this. Probably, I think XWHU employee will provide an update. Obviously, doing his podcast tomorrow. I will try to do a video on it, pending obviously feeling a bit better. But yeah, so there's that, and of course, then we've got more news. West Ham, let's just keep throwing shite at us as best as they can. But this is not really new. It's nothing to do with the press. It's just factual. So it looks like Lucas Paquetá and his hearing regarding these betting allegations is going to be in March. So it means he's going to be playing for us for this season. I can't see it being a really quick thing. I don't think it's going to be I imagine it's going to be quite a prolonged period. And then if he gets found guilty, I'm sure he'll have to challenge it and all this kind of stuff. So I'm not expecting a quick conclusion to it. I just hope that the fact now we've got a bit of a period until we have the hearing. March is quite a way off. Obviously, we've got quite a few months until that comes around. So hopefully Paquetá can just focus on his football. His goal yesterday hopefully will as well lift his confidence levels and spirit at the club a little bit, because you can kind of see that he has not been the player that we've been used to seeing at West Ham. But it is West Ham, and nonetheless, and as I say, it's always the same, isn't it, with us? It always feels like every time there's a bit of positivity, there's always negative stuff just waiting around the corner, just lingering around. But look, it is what it is. I'm hoping this doesn't take any kind of distraction from what occurred yesterday, which was a really good performance. I'm so pleased for everyone connected with the club, and I'm really pleased for Lopetegui as well. He's been under real pressure going into this one, and rightly so. We have started the season poor and haven't looked good, so it was great to see the players and everyone united and put in a really good performance. And let's just hope now that is the springboard for our season. But yeah, there we go. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it's going to be a positive couple of weeks. And once we find out a little bit more about the STEIDTEN stuff, that'll be more clear. I'd say X will provide his update tomorrow, and I'll do a video on the back of that. And there'll be some more other news coming out of that way. But until then, yeah, come on, you ones.